I guess Tim won the case, didn't he? All the dickheads who are out there making fun of him and saying some bad things about him, I guess he beat you. I knew he would. You're all talking a bunch of crap. You really are. And what's going on is you're making money out of it because you're all. I've seen you've got a lot of subscribers, so people are watching your videos. And I hope you're making enough money because the work that you're all doing to bring this guy down is costing you a lot of time. I would imagine that most of you from like the top, I would say 10 Sarasota Tim hating channels out there, you do at least 10 hours work a day. Life and Vibe, I think, does probably a little more than that. And with all the court case, it's a bunch of crap. It just doesn't work in life. Trying to sue somebody and then you lose. It must be an awful feeling. It's like an election. Let's say you're a Democrat and you lose by, I don't know, 10,000 votes. You're going to be devastated because you've got to live for another 4 years under a Republican, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing with like Sarasota Tim. It's horrible when you lose. And I knew that she would lose. I knew a lot of people would lose against him. The guy has it all down. Who knows his story? Who knows his background? Nobody really does, do they? We know he has a couple of kids and he lives in a 25-foot trailer and he was a car salesman. Was he? Who says? Says who? Who says he was a car trailer? He does? A car salesman? He does, right? We don't know. We have no idea. Can say anything. I was a famous athlete before, was I? Maybe not. But you can say anything you want. I was saying in my last video, as you saw, that if you have the trappings, you can say anything you want. You can pretend to be rich. I know I could. If I really wanted to, I could. In many, easy. I could easily do it. It's if you have the trappings. You can look very successful. You can look rich. You can, Sarasota Tim is just a regular guy who, since he has become popular on YouTube, he has acquired a few items, which he has. A few luxury goods, I guess, if that's what you'd call luxury goods. It's not what I call luxury goods, but he has an e-bike and he had a motorcycle and he's got another trailer. He's changed his car 3 or 4 times. Anybody can do this if you don't have any debt. If your credit rating is okay, you're fine, You can do this stuff and you can look wealthy. I've done it before. I've, gone out and bought a new car, let's say. Oh my God, what a car. It's a piece of paper. I just put a down payment and I got it. It doesn't mean I'm rich. But people don't think that. They think, wow. And, you might have a nice watch, as I was saying in the last video. It doesn't mean nothing. You can have a fake watch. There's a lot of people, actually, who have been robbed. And it's turned fatal for fake goods. I know a guy here in Mexico who lost his life, a young guy, 22 years old. And I knew his aunt. This was a few years back. And he was murdered for a fake Rolex. They thought it was a real one because he had the car and he looked, he had a very expensive vehicle and he looked the part and he had a Rolex on. It was a fake Rolex, They killed him. He got killed. He got stabbed, I think, fatally twice. But I'm just saying that people do show wealth if they want. They can do that. They can show wealth. If you're dressed in a I don't know, like an Armani suit, and you have a fake Rolex on, people think that Rolex is real. Seriously, it's just the way it is. And they would know you because you're upstanding, and you got a kind of a voice and the Donald Trump voice, and you're talking wealth, you're talking about stocks or whatever in your portfolio. You can pull it off. Anybody can pull it off. Sarasota Tim makes no bones that he's just a regular guy. I don't think he has any kind of wealth. And people have said, well, you guys are 2 broke guys. That's why you like him. We're not broke. I'm not broke. I don't think Sarasota Tim is broke. I doubt that very, very much. I think he's doing okay. And I think he's, you got to live, man. You don't have to hoard your money away like a lot of people do, and they don't enjoy their life. I know so many people in the United States who have worked their whole lives. They retire maybe 66 to 70 and pass away at 74. I've known a lot of people like that, and they have a lot of money, and they've passed away where their kids are fighting over the money. Okay, and I know one in the last 5 years that's happened to, and doesn't make sense, does it? You know, that a person left that, you know, they're not spending money. Person really was kind of frugal and didn't have to be. But I've known a lot of people like that too, and it doesn't work. Just enjoy your life, man. You know, but most of the people, the antagonists against Sarasota Tim, live sad lives. They really do. I mean, they got to be sad. If you think like Life and Vibe and New York Dan and people like that, Blind Views, they live with Tim 24 hours a day because they know they're going to abuse him on a couple of videos daily. And to think about those videos, they probably choreograph the whole thing. They probably have scripts written, and which I don't. I just say it off the cuff. I'm just talking normally here. You know, I don't spend any time doing this per day. Today I've been straightening out a lot of my memorabilia, which I'm doing. I'm selling a lot online. But, you know, I'm doing that kind of stuff. You know, I'm doing things, you know, I'm enjoying it. I went for a bike ride, went for a walk in the last couple of hours. And it's nice, you know, don't have to worry about anything. I've eaten well. In fact, I just had a shake, and my wife made some guacamole, and she made an amazing corn soup, which was incredible. So, you know, stuff like that, you know, we live a good life, we live a nice life, you know, but we're not that wealthy, you know, but we live in a nice place and we enjoy it, you know, and it's a nice place to live. You know, you've got the greenery, you have the mountains over there. If I went to the roof garden, I would show you, but it's a gorgeous, gorgeous place. And I have this 365 days a year, you know, and the guy says to me, he says, you and Tim, you're probably as broke as each other. You're probably too. Oh, yeah, I'm broke. I'm broke. Yeah. Okay. Okay, dude. You know, I've been watching a lot of these card shows, you know, because I used to have a massive sports card collection, and I sold it. And I was happy to sell it because it was taking a lot of my time. And I've been watching a lot of these shows where these guys they have $250,000 to $500,000 collections, and they're getting sold for let's say $150,000 to a guy that goes around buying collections. I feel bad for them because they put a lot of time and effort into these things. Like I used to. That's the reason I sold my collection. I had to get rid of it. Then I had a massive boxing memorabilia collection, and I sold almost all of it. I didn't sell it all because I wanted to keep it. That stuff I don't want to sell. I had a lot of signed gloves. You know, a massive collection of signed gloves, and I sold them for big money to a guy in Denmark, and I shipped them to Denmark. The actual package, I think, cost me like $250, $300 to send these gloves to Denmark. Where I've been going to the Hall of Fame every year and accumulating like 20 every time I went. And I sold the whole collection to one collector in Denmark without having any authenticated, because he knew me and knew my background, my credentials, and I said, I'm not going to sell you a fake autograph on a glove. People they do it, but everything I sold was 100%. I even had a Carmen Basilio signed head guard that he had actually used in the gym for both his Sugar Ray Robinson fights. That was a very, very big item. And it could have been faked. You could fake it. It's an old, but if you went to the serial number of the head guard, you knew it came from the era of 1959 to 61, when I was saying that he was using it in those years. And his mother even signed a letter to say it was his, was it his mother or his sister, to say it was his head guard from that fight. So everything was kind of added up, you know. And then we had photos and with the same one. There was a couple of marks on the marks were there in the photo. So anyway, this guy bought. The thing is, though, is that people are not into collections anymore, and so you keep the stuff that you love. So I've been actually getting rid of a lot of stuff that I don't want, because people are not collecting anything. You might as well get the money and live nice. You go for a nice dinner or something, with, you know. But anyway, I just had to come out here and had to kind of protect Sarasota Tim, who, to be honest with you, has been going through a tough time, I believe. His health doesn't look great. His eye is not looking good, I'm telling you that. Kind of dilated. I know he's driving around and everything, but honestly, I hope that the guy really, has good health in the next few years. I'm just hoping. I think he will, but I'm just saying, I was a little worried about that. But all these haters were on him. You're all like cocky and we're going to get him. We've got him now, and goes to court. And you know what? As the Italians would say, what happened to your Life and Vibe? All these detractors. Who is it? Life and Vibe. You got New York Dan, and you got who's the other one? Blind Views, and all the rest of you. Olive Oil, Miss, what's her name? The big heavy lady. I forget. Miss. God, I forget now. Miss Susie. There's a word in Italian that sums everything up, and it's this: abugats.